Hello and welcome to the Commander's Quarters, your Magic the Gathering source that helps you command your budget. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all their support. Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander's Course studio. Welcome to the show. So the entire list of the Phantom Premonition Precon with Ranar at the helm has finally been revealed. And today I'm going to be walking you through a lot of great upgrade options for the deck. So if you're looking to pick up this deck and add some more power to it, this episode should help. Now I will be breaking the upgrades down into different budget tiers. I realize that when it comes to Magic, many players have different budgets, so I hope that this helps. But with all that said, let's jump into it. So the commander for the Phantom Premonition Precon deck is Ranar the Ever-Watchful. Ranar is a 2/3 Spirit Warrior with Flying and Vigilance that costs 2 white-blue. He has the first card you foretell each turn costs 0 to foretell. And whenever you exile one or more cards from your hand and or permanents in the battlefield, create a 1/1 white Spirit Creature token with Flying. So first off, obviously Ranar interacts really well with the brand new foretell mechanic from Kaldheim. Essentially it can save you 2 mana on each turn that you foretell a card. And on top of that, when you do foretell a card, you get a 1/1 Spirit. But there are plenty of other ways to make spirits because you get one whenever you exile a card from your hand or a permanent from the battlefield. Now you can definitely take a commander like Ranar in a few directions. You might focus on foretell and other ways to exile cards from your hand. You might focus on blink effects and having creatures with really powerful ETBs. You can also focus on tokens and anthem effects. Or you might just build the deck with a focus on a variety of these. So if you're already thinking of a certain direction that you want to take this deck, make sure that you keep that in mind as we go through these upgrades. Because obviously some of these upgrades are going to be more effective for one direction than another. So just make sure you keep that in mind. But now let's get started with some budget-friendly upgrade options that are each less than $2. Personally, I found in building my own budget decks that if a card is less than $2, it usually can fit into the budget. And the first one that I want to highlight might just be one of the best upgrades for this deck, and it's only 84 cents with Cosmos Charger. It's a 3/3 Horse Spirit with Flash and Flying that costs 3 and a blue. It says foretelling cards from your hand cost 1 less and can be done on any player's turn, and it's got foretell for 2 and a blue. This card works perfectly with your commander. With this and your commander in play, you can foretell 1 card on each turn, not just your own, for free. And if you're going to foretell a second card in a turn, it's only going to cost you 1. On top of all that, this card actually has foretell itself. So yeah, this is definitely worth the 84 cents, and pretty much any budget is going to want to put this card in the deck. Next up, let's talk about some ways to really utilize your flying spirits with Reconnaissance Mission and Bind of Thassa. Reconnaissance Mission comes in at 65 cents, and it's an enchantment for 2 blue. It says whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card, and it's got cycling too. Chances are our spirits with flying are going to get through on at least one of our opponents. So this can draw us an absurd amount of cards and really help us keep things going. Bind of Thassa, which comes in at $1.52, is very similar. It's a legendary enchantment artifact that costs 2 blue, and it does the exact same thing as Reconnaissance Mission. It doesn't have cycling, but it does have pay 1 and blue and tap it. Creatures your opponents control attack this turn to Fable. So again, this is an incredible draw engine for us, and on top of that, this can force our opponents to attack in a bad situation. And speaking of ways to take advantage of our flyers though, let's talk about favorable wins. Currently, it just costs 34 cents, and it's an enchantment that costs 1 and a blue that says, creatures you control with flying get +1/+1. So this anthem is going to pump our commander as well as all of our tokens. There are plenty of other cards in this deck that this can benefit as well, like Cosmos Charger, but the focus is on pumping our tokens. Just having one anthem in play essentially doubles up their effectiveness. So why not include more anthems like Intangible Virtue and Honor the Pure? Intangible Virtue only costs 7 cents, and it's an enchantment that costs 1 and a white that says creature tokens you control get +1/+1 and have Vigilance. So this not only pumps our tokens, but also lets them stay back for blocking as well. And then Honor the Pure is another 2-mana enchantment with a price tag of $1.31. It costs 1 and a white, and it says white creatures you control get +1/+1. So again, this pumps our commander, our tokens, and any other white creatures in this deck too. Next up, we've got some tribal-specific enchantments that can pump our spirits, like Rally the Ranks and Radiant Destiny. Rally the Ranks is currently 85 cents, and it's an enchantment that costs 1 and a white. When it comes into play, we choose a creature type, and then creatures we control the chosen type get +1/+1. So this is yet another low-to-the-ground anthem that can be incredibly effective. And then there's Radiant Destiny, which is somewhat similar to Rally the Ranks and Intangible Virtue. Currently it's $1.24, and it's an enchantment that costs 2 and a white, and it has Ascend. When it enters the battlefield, we choose a creature type, and then creatures we control the chosen type get +1/+1, and as long as we have the City's Blessing, they also have Vigilance. So this can give all of our spirits +1/+1 and Vigilance too. We actually even have some spirits that can help us out as well with Supreme Phantom and Drogskull Captain. Supreme Phantom currently is $1.35 and it's a 1/3 spirit with flying that costs 1 and a blue. It says other spirits you control get +1/+1. And then Drogskull Captain costs a bit more but takes us a step further. It's a 2/2 spirit soldier with flying that costs 1 white blue, and it has other spirits you control get +1/+1 and have hexproof. So this not only pumps our spirits, but it also protects them too, including our commander. And at 37 cents, this is an absolute steal for this deck. But now let's talk about Harmonious Archon, which technically isn't an Anthem, but it kind of is for this deck. Currently it's only 57 cents, and it's a 4/5 Archon with flying that costs 4 white. It says non-Archon creatures have base power and toughness 3/3, and when it enters the battlefield, you get 2 1/1 white human creature tokens. So essentially this turns all other creatures into 3/3s. So that changes our spirits from 1/1s into 3/3s, and that's basically just a +2/+2. And unless our opponents are playing Archon Tribal, which is highly unlikely, then their creatures are going to be affected as well. So this takes all their huge creatures down to 3/3s. And again, since we're running a bunch of Anthems, this makes our creatures a lot more powerful than theirs. But some other cards that you might want to consider if you're going with a Blink strategy are cards like Ephemerate and Yorion Sky Nomad. Ephemerate is a fantastic Blink spell and it's only 26 cents. It's an instant for a white and it says exile target creature you control, then return to the battlefield under its owner's control, and it's got rebound. So we essentially get to cast this twice. And then Yorion Sky Nomad is currently $1.48 and it's a 4/5 bird serpent with flying that costs 3 Azorius. When it enters the battlefield, we exile any number of other non-land permanents we own and control, then we return those cards to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. So that's just basically one massive Blink spell. And again, if we've got a lot of creatures with ETBs or LTBs, we can get a lot of value out of this. But now let's move on to the next category, where I'm going to highlight some cards that are between $2 and $10. These cards might be a bit pricier, but it might be worth stretching your budget just a bit to include some of them. First up, I want to highlight 2 new Foretell cards with Glorious Protector and Doomscar. Glorious Protector is currently $3.86, and it's a 3/4 Angel Cleric with flash and flying that costs 2 white. It has Foretell for 2 and a white, and when it enters the battlefield, you may exile any number of non-angel creatures you control until it leaves the battlefield. So this can be a fantastic Foretell card that can be great board wipe protection for our team. And then Doomscar comes in at $6.43, and it's a sorcery that costs 3 white and says destroy all creatures, and its Foretell cost is 1 white. So essentially this is a Foretell Wrath that we can cast for 3, and it can save us in a pinch. 2 other Foretell cards that you might want to consider are Mystic Reflection at $3.71 and Alrund's Epiphany at $3.23. Mystic Reflection is an instant for 1 and a blue, but its Foretell cost is just a blue. It says choose target non-legendary creature. The next time 1 or more creatures or planeswalkers enter the battlefield this turn, they enter as copies of the chosen creature. So this spell is incredibly versatile. Essentially, we can make a token or tokens, if they all enter at the same time, become 1 non-legendary creature. We can also use this against our opponents, say if they cast their commander and we just turn it into one of our tokens. And then Alrund's Epiphany is a sorcery that costs 5 blue, and its Foretell cost is 4 blue. It says create 2 1/1 blue bird creature tokens with flying, take an extra turn for this one, exile Alrund's Epiphany. So this Foretell card gives us 2 tokens, but more importantly, gives us an extra turn. Next up though, I want to highlight a card like Reconnaissance Mission and Bind of Thassa with Coastal Piracy. This one unfortunately comes in with a higher price tag of $3.15, but it's basically the same thing. It's an enchantment for 2 blue, and it says whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. So yeah, like those other 2, this is an incredible draw engine for this deck. It's just slightly more expensive. And speaking of slightly more expensive, let's talk about some more Anthem and Pump effects. Shared Triumph is essentially another Rally of the Ranks, but this one comes in at $2.63. Cathar's Crusade is a game-ending card that comes in at $4.06. It's an enchantment for 3 white, and it says whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. With the amount of tokens our commander can make, this can get out of control very quickly. And then there's Eldrazi Monument, which comes in at $5.54. It's an artifact that costs 5, and it says creatures you control get +1/+1 and have flying and indestructible. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature. If you can't, sacrifice Eldrazi Monument. Sacrificing 1 creature on each of our turns is going to be well worth getting that effect. +1/+1, flying and indestructible, yeah, sign me up. Next up, let's move on to some repeatable Blink effects with Conjurer's Closet, which comes in at $2.46, and Deadeye Navigator, which comes in at $5.75. Conjurer's Closet's an artifact that costs 5, and it says at the beginning of your end step, you may exile target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under your control. With this, we can abuse ETBs and LTBs and make spirits. And Deadeye Navigator can basically help do that as well. It has Soul Bond, and as long as it's paired with another creature, each of those creatures has pay 1 and a blue, exile this creature, and then return to the battlefield under your control. So essentially, it's a repeatable Blink effect for 2 mana. But now let's move on to Selfless Spirit, which can really save us in the right situation. It comes in at $7.42, so it might stretch your budget just a bit. It's a 2/1 Spirit Cleric with flying that costs 1 and a white, and says sacrifice Selfless Spirit, creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. So essentially it's going to get all of our Anthem effects, and it's fantastic board wipe protection. And finally in this budget category, I want to highlight Spark Double, which is currently $5.10. Spark Double is essentially, hey, do you want a second copy of your commander? And yes, we'd like a second copy of our commander since we'd get twice as many spirits. But now let's move on to our final budget category, which I'm going to be calling the high roller category. Cards in this category are going to be $10 or more. I'm just going to be highlighting a few, but these can definitely be high impact cards. First up, there's Ghostway, which comes in at $13.04. It's an instant for 2 and a white, and its Oracle text says, exile each creature you control, return those cards to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So this is a mass blank spell that can save us from a board wipe or get us a ton of ETBs and LTBs. But now let's move on to Elish Norn Grand Cenobite, which comes in at $15.82. She's a 4/7 Praetor with Vigilance that costs 5 white. She has other creatures you control get +2/+2, and creatures your opponents control get -2/-2. So essentially this is a 4-point swing, pumping our creatures and shrinking our opponent's creatures. But if you've got the budget for it, one of the best upgrades for this deck has got to be Anointed Procession, which comes in at $25.16. It's an enchantment for 3 and a white and says if an effect would create 1 or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many tokens instead. So yeah, doubling up our token production is a very powerful thing, especially if we've got a card like Kindred Discovery in play. It's an enchantment for 3 blue, and when it comes into play we choose a creature type, and then whenever a creature we control the chosen type enters the battlefield or attacks, we draw a card. So essentially whenever we make a spirit, cast a spirit, or attack with a spirit, we're going to be drawing cards. Our other draw engines might be powerful, but they pale in comparison to this. But at $20.10, you're definitely going to have to pay up for this card. Now you can find the links for all these upgrades in the description below. There are going to be 3 separate links, one for each budget category. So cards that are less than $2, cards that are between 2 and 10, and then cards that are over 10. Also in the description below, I included another link for potential cards to remove for some upgrades. Again, when you're adding cards into your deck and when you're taking cards out, there's a lot of factors to consider. It comes down to your playstyle, your personal preference, and your meta, so make the decisions that are right for you. There's absolutely no right or wrong way to upgrade a deck. So make the decisions that you want to make. And with that, the show is coming to a close, so it's my turn to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts on this episode are, and as always, thanks again and have a good one.